something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are ya? I guess you wonder what the hell happened last night. Hey, well, we'll get to that in a minute. But can I just say, yeah, last night was not a night. I think for the first time in history, I was so angry that I feared what I might say. So I thought it better to shut up, as they say, keep my mouth shut, steam away happily, and think happy thoughts about the Gold Coast Air Show, which started today. So I thought a lot of happy thoughts. We'll get to that in a minute. A lot of happy thoughts about the Gold Coast Air Show. It's called the Pacific Air Show. I shouldn't call it the Gold Coast Air Show, but spectacular it has been for the last few years where it has been given a birth. But tonight, before we get into any of that, I want to talk about the complete bullshit that our mainstream media have put forward regarding yesterday. Now, yesterday, a whole bunch of badly educated children were allowed, for whatever reason, to escape their school and I guess quite proudly under their teacher's direction shout slogans that none of them would have been smart enough to come up with, and I'll show you some examples of that in the very near future. Pardon me. It's pretty frightening how these kids can get away with what they get away with. However, for mine, one of the big bullshit pieces of the day was put out by news.com.au. Here's Lisa Perry. She'll explain it to you.
One before I go to bed, I just want to have a look at this right here. Have a look at this. Invasion Day 2026 on Australia Day, the Invasion March. Look at the sign there. All right, now look at this one that they posted today, and they're trying to say this is for the Pauline Hanson, anti-Pauline Hanson rally. Apparently these are the thousands of people, of children at this one. It's right, it's the same bloody photo. They think we're dumb. Idiots.
Yeah, that's the Australian. Can you believe it? The Australian posted that up and wanted people to believe it. Why did they want people to believe it? Because the turnout in Sydney by the students was crap. I mean, maybe a couple of hundred, maybe. And, of course, the militant ones were in Melbourne, but we'll speak more about them shortly. What I think for mine was the most concerning thing was seeing this woman. That is Senator Fatima Payman, who is out there gathering the child's vote because, well, you know, by the time she's up for re-election, these pricks will probably have the right to vote. But just associating yourself like that, I think, Senator, is a terribly, terribly bad look. We are all full of terribly, terribly bad looks. This girl, she also went out, tried to have her say, and obviously did. She managed to catch up with Avi, and as I saw on a post today about her, we can all just be thankful in the knowledge that that picture is going to live with her for the rest of her life now. The rest of her life. I can also tell you that some of these children out here have been educated in ways I don't think anybody ever expected. Ways like this, for instance.
I'm at the students' protest against Pauline Hanson. Let's hear what they have to say.
Do you guys, what would you do if Pauline Hanson were here today?
I'm not. I would fucking. I should have. I would run and
It's like,
fill the fuck up. Kill her.
Justin, do you believe that Pauline Hanson is a fascist?
Oh, well, 100%.
What do you think the punishment for that fascism should be?
I'll bring back the guillotine, I think.
Guillotine? Isn't that a bit ironic?
Yeah.
That she's a fascist, but you're the one who wants to kill your political enemies?
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely ironic.
So would that make you a fascist?
Possibly.
Were you encouraged by your teachers or anyone to skip school today to come to the protest?
Listen, okay, not in a legal sense. They didn't directly encourage it, but they did not discourage it. Oh no, you're sick. God, it's so unfortunate. The whole class is unwell. No class today.
But they were happy for you to go?
Oh, very much. I got a lovely note from my music teacher saying, "Oh, thank you. I'm assuming everyone who's not here is at the protest. Love you guys, and work extra hard for me."
Yeah, I came out here. It was pretty fun.
So you're just here to skip school?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, whoever from Pauline Hanson's mob put a microphone in that young man's hands, he did pretty well. I dare say after interviewing a few of the people that he ran into yesterday, he had to go away and try and make light of it with his mate there at the end because, well, they weren't the only people he caught up with.
Stand up for what's right and show what kids want. And what is that? What do kids want?
Hard question, that. What do kids want?
Freedom and more diversity.
We're here to say no to the fascist far-right policies of Pauline Hanson.
Get a load of that kid, will you? Get a load of that. Leans into the microphone, has their hair all draped over her face. I mean, that girl is going to be sitting in the back room of university labour rooms and working full labour by the time she reaches the end of HSC. I shit you not. She'll get to university and that will be the last anybody will ever see of her. I mean, sad as it might be.
Protesting for what's right and, like, what's wrong with what she's doing.
Just how she acts and stuff. Like, as my sign says, she is racist, sexist, and a Nazi. And just no one really wants her as a president. Or not president, like minister. Stand up for what's right and show what kids want.
Well, kids want a fucking education, don't they? We don't have presidents in this country. We have prime ministers. Oh, God, it's embarrassing. If you're a parent of one of those children, I mean, I know you must be feeling shame well beyond your years, I would have thought. It must leave some of you wondering where the bucket was at birth. But we've got them. Some would say they're wounded in this war, and I would say they're wounded, all right. They have been deliberately wounded. They've been deliberately wounded by those we've abdicated our responsibility for education to. Now, I'm not saying it's the parents' fault, but it's happened, and it's happened a lot through the 90s into the thousands, and we are now reaping the benefit of it because a lot of them now have jobs. A lot of them are working their way towards powerful positions, and they have been indoctrinated from the red-headed clown Julia Gillard's days, when she placed a militant lesbian in charge of Victorian education reform and brought in this no sex, whatever you want to be sex kind of judgment and then education in the schools. And we are reaping the benefit of that on so many levels. It is sad to see that the cane has been removed because, as I've been pointing out on Facebook and other places today and yesterday, if we had the cane back, I wouldn't be caning the children. The children are only doing what they've been indoctrinated to do. The children have been brainwashed, and the children, as children aren't aware that they've been brainwashed. They believe everything that their teachers are telling them. Well, maybe not everything, but certainly about these things. Pauline Hanson's a Nazi. These children, I think, would be hard-pressed to spell the word Nazi. A bit like our president. Oh, do we have one of them? Oh, whatever he is. Oh, it's been a good day out. We got to come out into the city on a beautiful day and swear loudly in public. We looked like adults because we've seen adults doing that a lot recently. In fact, so much a lot recently that the Australian decided to use a picture of an anti-immigration rally march from 2022, I think it is, because if you look at that picture, you'll see that everybody in it is wearing a mask of some kind. I didn't see too many of them wearing masks anywhere in Sydney or Melbourne yesterday. These children who were let out of school by these teachers know no better. They've been indoctrinated to believe that they're entitled enough and it is a right of theirs to go and protest. Well, when I was at school, it was a right for you to learn. And if you distracted others from learning, you got 6 on the arse with a cane. Or in my case, it was a fan belt, a car fan belt. 6 on the arse with one of those. Through my, it was, well, I was at a Catholic boarding school. A lot of worse things could have come through my summer pajamas, I suppose. But at any rate, the fan belt was what I got, but there was a there was a cane involved. I don't know why Vince is. I hope he's stretching his back or he's trying to give me a message. I'm not quite sure. You are temporarily out of order. All right.
Not me, the kids.
Oh, the kids are temporarily out of order. Oh, well. Yeah, there is that. There is that. Hello, mate. Nice to have you involved. I was going to get you in, so.
I just realised the shirt I put on today works perfectly for them for yesterday. They are temporarily out of order. They have no concept in the brain whatsoever of what is going on. And their youthful exuberance, while great, if they only put it towards working to improve Australia, would be magnificent.
Yes, exactly right. If they could only show that same sort of energy into raising their understanding of what's going on in the country and maybe getting some understanding of the Australian Constitution, beginning with learning how to spell the word Constitution, I think would probably be a good start. I might be being a bit facetious, but yeah. When did truancy become unacceptable or acceptable? School excursions require a permission slip. I think a certain political party and senator should be held to account for encouraging truancy across the country. I think many of our senators, Sarah, should be held to account, not necessarily just for that particular rally. I think they should be held to account for a great many things. And in fact, Tony Nikolic, who many will remember as a great freedom fighter lawyer, has a little bit of news on that. Vince, let's just slip this in.
G'day everyone, Tony Nikolic update. A lot of people over the years, some say they were fooled, some say they didn't look into it. Well, we knew early on that the vaccines didn't stop transmission because it was in my case in 2021. We're still fighting for people to this day. We're having people understand that what they were told was a lie. And it was that manipulation. And yes, for some people, or I should say for many, they believed because the news was censoring things. So what we're saying is the files we have are in storage. We have the receipts. Yesterday we announced what was a bittersweet victory for a nurse who had been fighting for years to have her disability recognised. And that was finally recognised yesterday in the sense that there was a settlement provided to her in relation to that. Now, we've got to go back and say to ourselves, well, how is it that we were all so manipulated? And it was clearly an institutional issue where so many institutions just piled on. They didn't even know what the science was. They didn't know what the truth was. They didn't even engage in debate. They said, follow the science. Well, science is about debate. What is anti-science is doing what they did. And so there is a high level of hypocrisy here. And that hypocrisy needs to be called out. And until people start standing up, it's that very same model that's going to get you in other areas as well. So I just want to say one thing to that very strong nurse, and she was a nurse, who stood up and fought this all the way. It's a message for all of you, because she has a lifelong disability as a consequence. And there are over 140,000 Australians with injuries of varying magnitudes. I have coronial files that within 27 hours of being administered the Pfizer shot, a rural fireman passed away, very fit. I have another coronial file that said, as a consequence of the Pfizer jab, the 52-year-old chap passed away with granulomatous myocarditis as a consequence of Pfizer. But that was overturned by a TGA/ATAGI safety panel. Let that sink in. A forensic pathologist under the Uniform Civil Procedure Code has their finding overturned by an executive panel of bureaucrats. Let that sink in, people, because that is where we're at. The executive made the order, they gave the directions, and now they're overturning the judicial sector.
Well,
unbelievable.
That's a constitutional problem, isn't it? It's supposed to be three separate entities.
I cut off the end of it. It's probably the most important bit. He said, and that's a constitutional problem, a big one.
Oh, we're in the same mind. Hey, look at that. I'm not out of order after all.
So no, hang on. This thing might have just picked it up.
Constitutional question, people. And it's serious.
There you go. So you're 100% on the money, mate. It's a constitutional question and it's a serious one.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's supposed to be three distinct areas, right? The legal system is not supposed to be bound by the executive. The executive can make laws and then the legal system enforce them, but the legal system can also make laws through common laws and interpret the current laws. And nowhere should the executive override a legal decision. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah. I don't know how the executive or how an authority, this is what's getting me too about some of these deportations that are being overridden by a tribunal as opposed to a court. Some authority has said, oh, no, look, because Mustafa has, been living in Australia for 5 years, he hasn't had any friends back home there for a while. If he goes back, he sort of burned all his bridges when he went back there. And look, he's got bad teeth. He's in for a dentist appointment in 2 years' time here in Australia. If we send him back to wherever, Somalia or wherever, he's not going to get that dental health treatment, and therefore all his teeth might fall out. He might get an ulcer. He might perforate his skull. He might he might die if we send him back. And some soft-nutted moron at that appeals tribunal somehow gets to override an Australian court decision. How does that work? A bureaucrat, an unelected bureaucrat gets to override everything. I don't know. Completely beyond me. I think you've frozen up, Vince, or I have, or the world has come to a grinding halt. All right. Can you guys still see me? Oh, Vince is gone. So can you still see me, folks? Is it working in the chat? What did Sunflower say that was so spot on? I'll go back and try and find that as we figure out. Oh, talking about private schools and straps. Yes, well, you've just caught up to where I was at. So rather unpleasant, all of that, sadly. Tony Nikolic, great bloke. I'll try and get a hold of him in the next week or so and see if we can get him on for a bit of a chat because what he's saying is very, very important and does have, under the current constitution, whether you believe it in it or not, does have some serious ramifications. Now, let's move on. Vince is out, so he'll be trying to get himself back in so I can move on just a little bit here. Another celebrity death today, Johnny Young from Young Talent Time fame. That bloke to the right-hand top side there, I think that's a Redfern. I think that could be a Jamie Redfern. I want to say that Jamie Redfern has some interesting stories to tell about a relationship with Johnny Young and Liberace. Does anybody remember that? There were some stories back in the day because Jamie Redfern was quite the talent, the Young Talent Time talent, and I think he was part of the original team. Liberace came to Australia and did a tour, and Jamie Redfern was his support act. At the time, he was like 14, 15, or might have just been 16 years of age. Liberace loved him so much that he took him back to Vegas with him. Hello. There was an awful lot of money paid. I believe the Redfern family, it's alleged that they were given money for, Jamie. Jamie was given a life in Vegas and I guess a shot at some sort of stardom there on the coattails of Liberace. Don't think it worked out very well, and Jamie Redfern went on to... I get a bit confused between him and the kid that played Sonny. One of them was a caravan seller at one stage. I want to say Jamie Redfern wound up down in Geelong. There are a lot of stories that came out of the Young Talent Time years, some very good, some leave some questioning to be asked, I think. Sally Boyden is another one that might have some questions that she could answer, potentially. There are... Oh, no, I won't go into it. There are some connections with the Young Talent Time production team that I had many years ago. One of those fellas was also involved at one point with Hey Hey It's Saturday very deeply. And he died, but wound up dying before he could go to jail for some of the things he'd done. Tina Arena, of course, was a big fan of Johnny Young's, and he a big fan of hers. And in fact, they stayed friends right through until the end, which is all very nice. I dare say she'll say something nice at the funeral. If you enjoyed Russell Morris singing The Real Thing, Johnny Young wrote that. And Russell Morris put something out that was very nice today in honour and memory of his old mate, Johnny Young. So here's a nice little picture of them. Yay. Okay, so a few interesting bits and pieces went on today in my life. I thought, I might go down to the Gold Coast and have a look at the Pacific Air Show. I've had a little bit of an air show around me in the last few days. A lot of these aircraft have been flying in, and we happen to be on a flight path into Archerfield in Brisbane. And if aircraft are going to the Gold Coast via a sort of circuitous route from Amberley, we do get a few flypasts around this way as well. So it's been a bit of an air show around here. Of course, they haven't been doing steep turns and carrying on the way that these aircraft do, but it has been good. Anyway, I thought about going down there, and I've been to a number of air shows, and I've taken a shitload of pictures, and I'm all for it. In fact, I had thought about trying to bribe Michael Offey, who at the moment is running an apartment right on the beach, fairly high up, where the camera house that he works for has hired that apartment, and they've invited in a number of people to take photos using specialist cameras and all that sort of stuff, and some camera suppliers are there. It's a big sales weekend for them, and I thought I might be able to sneak onto that balcony and take some photos myself. Unfortunately, that's a very highly priced balcony to be on, and I couldn't afford the price to get on it, but that's all right. There are plenty of places online that you can go and watch the thing, and I'll be honest, folks, I've been to a lot of these things, and I've taken a camera, and I have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of shots. A lot of those shots look a lot like that one, which is the MV22 Osprey, not off, Osprey. I'm showing some pictures here from a mob called the Ground Crew. Thank you for letting me use it. Well, I didn't even ask, but I'm giving you credit. So there you go. I would love to have a ride in one of those. In fact, there were some great images of the loadies doing what loadies do. A loadie is a load master, and there's a couple of them sitting on the back of one of these on the tail that you can see just hanging out the back there, the tailgate, and they're sitting on the back waving at the crowd. Loadies are very renowned for that kind of thing. There is this chopper, which is known as a BO 105. Now, this put on one hell of a display, I've got to say. I didn't realise that there was one of these in Australia with a pilot qualified to do this sort of aerial shit with it. But that thing will do a loop. It is the only helicopter that can do a loop, and there's a reason for that. And it has a lot to do with the rotor system that it runs. It has a fully stabilised or a solid something or other rotor system, which means that those rotors do not flap around and hit the tail, which is what would happen if you took your Robbie 22 up for a flight or something like that. You cut your own tail off. Not good. But anyway, those things put on a hell of a show. And one of them there today, this one doing loops, doing barrel rolls, really was Red Bull sort of stuff. Speaking of Red Bull kind of stuff, we'll get to that. This, what a magnificent photo. This is the Spitfire. Now, I'm not sure if this is the Spitfire from Pays Aviation in Scone or it's from the new Spitfire mob on Archerfield at Brisbane. Either way, if you want to go for a 25-minute flight in a Spitfire, and God, I would love to go for a 25-minute flight in a Spitfire, but I would not like to pay $4,950 for it. I nearly fell on the floor. However, having listened to them today, and I guess if there is a reason to go and stand on the beach in the wind and get a face full of sand, it is so you can hear not one, but two of these magnificent things overfly you at speed. And they're also joined by a Mustang, which is pretty flash indeed. The Queensland Fire Service got involved. This is one of their helicopters, which is able to dump a large amount of water in a very short amount of time. Got the snorkel there to go and pick it up from your backyard pool if that's what required. And then there was this shot, which I particularly liked. It shows an air tractor. You might want to call them a crop duster, because that's what it is. But it's full of water. So they use those, obviously, as fire bombers in various different circumstances. A bloody magnificent thing. And then, of course, there is what I would consider to be probably one of the more definitive shots of the day. And this is like my aerial photography. This is Matt Hall. So Australian legend flying his extremely fast, I think it's a 300 spec something or other, goes very, very quick, is very, very agile, and has a roll rate of about 400 degrees a second. So it spins as fast as you can make it spin. Speaking of those air tractors, I wanted to just point out, hello to Richard and to Sue, wonderful people, the McDonalds, who own an air tractor business out of Rockhampton, McDonald Aviation. Their daughter is flying alongside Matt Hall this weekend. She is Australia's only aerobatic female pilot, and she spends a great deal of her time flying in America and in Europe, I think, and is back here working with Matt Hall now, I think, on almost a full-time basis, and they are working together, putting on air shows, going to air shows around the country. So congratulations to her, Emma, and congratulations to Richard and to Susan. They have a very high-achieving family. Beautiful, wonderful family they are. And congratulations. I'm not sure if you're down, but I should try and give you a call. I won't try and barge into the apartment that you're staying at, I'm sure, to watch the the displays that your daughter will be putting on over the next few days. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, here's an example of me and my photos. This is Matt Hall. This is Matt Hall going up. And this is doing a loop, right? So this is him coming over the top of the loop. It's a really good loop. This is him coming down the loop. And, oops, I'll get it right. And this is him flying out of the loop. So you get the idea. He flies up. He does the loop. He comes down. Oh, wrong one again. And then he flies out. Now, the only thing is that that's exactly the same picture. I've just cropped it and turned it and used it because that I don't know. Back in the day where I first started taking pictures of aeroplanes, and I'm not a plane spotter by any stretch of the imagination, but I fell in love with air shows for a while. And I discovered that on a good day, you would go and take photos of these magnificent aircraft on a beautiful bright sky blue background. And then when you got them back from getting them printed, because believe it or not, there might be some people watching who don't understand that back in the day before digital, you actually had to send off a roll of film, as some people called it, to get processed, and it would come back in a piece of paper, quite nice, shiny, picture, we used to call them. And you'd put that in a frame, and then you'd put that on your wall or somewhere else. Anyway, I digress. I would get 250 pictures back in the envelope that they would come back, and there was never an indication of which way was up. And I was taking photos this way, that way, any which way I could hold the camera. And there was never an indication of which way I was up. And you've got no idea. I had a ball until it got very boring. Once again, I did have some beautiful photos of the Mustang and the No, there wasn't a Spitfire. There was a Mustang there that day. Spitfires are only very new to Australia, folks. The Pays Aviation one that's been restored down in Scone is the first, and the second is been restored by a family here in Brisbane and works out of Archerfield, but I think they're working together. They are part of what is called 100 Squadron, which works very closely with the RAAF and the Roulettes. Today, for instance, down at the Gold Coast, the Roulettes were there as well, and this is an indication of the kind of photo you can expect to get if you turn up at the event. That's sort of how far away you are, and what do you do with those sorts of photos? You need a bit of perspective to show what the aircraft is doing. Showing the land is a good thing, or the sea, but they're flying just a bit too high to get nice close-ups of the cockpits and that sort of thing and get background other than bright blue sky. So anyway, I was going to go on and on with that. Something bad must have happened to Vince because he hasn't rematerialized, which is a bit weird of him. There was one bloke, unfortunately, who put on his own air show. He didn't quite make it to the Gold Coast. In fact, this is out the back of Corn in sort of Western Queensland. No, the aircraft didn't crash land or anything stupid. What did happen was that there was a bit of a dramatic change in the weather, and it started to get dark, and there was clouds around, and the pilot, who wasn't qualified to fly in the dark or through clouds, made a decision, and probably a correct decision, to land the aircraft on the highway and just park it off the road for the night. You'd be amazed how light those things aren't. Dragging that thing back out onto the highway the next day may well have been a bit of fun. But I guess if you've got a four-wheel drive, and you can camp out in the back of them because, you can. It's that kind of thing. He returns. My word, you had a conniption.
That's an understatement. Not very often that this whole system locks up, but it took everything out. I had to reboot my whole machine, all my virtual machines, everything. So whatever I was saying just before I got taken off air must obviously have been the truth.
Well, quite clearly, we wouldn't expect anything else from you, though. You're that kind of bloke. Very much that kind of bloke. Well, I'm glad you returned because my system's now locked up.
Right. So we must be really on the mark then. right? Yeah. It's very unusual for my system to be taken out because it's virtualized. It has multiple various things that run, and it took out the internet. It took out my Wi-Fi. It took out all my other Docker containers. Everything just stopped. I'll investigate why afterwards, but.
All right. Well, I'm going to pop out and try and get my system to work back in. So I'll be back in a moment, folks.
Okay. So while he's doing that, I'll get a chance to actually have a little bit of a chat about what I think is going on with this country at the moment. Effectively, it was interesting that the children, etc., from the schools were busily protesting. They have no concept of history. They have no concept of past. They have no concept of patriotism. Effectively, they're now in a one world dominated society, and partially social media is influenced to part of that. We will, however, through that same social media, have time to educate them on what is. And most of them, as they grow older and suddenly find out that, hey, AI has taken 45% of their chance of them having a job, they're going to learn the hard way, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. Along with that, we need to look at our political landscape and what's going on. We have two particular situations that are occurring here. The first one being the fact that we have one way of making a difference in this country, and that would be to get behind a party that's been consistent for the last 30 years, which is One Nation. The second, if that doesn't work, is revolution. And I don't want to see revolution because, unfortunately, revolution comes with an amount of blood. So I think we need, as a people of Australia, to get in there and do what is required. We need to limit the amount of people coming into this country. We need to build up our resources. Not saying we can't have them come in later, but right now we need to get all of our resources into play. We need to get all of our background infrastructure into play. We need to get rid of this bullshit energy crisis that we shouldn't even be having because we're one of the richest countries in the world. So effectively, we as the adults need to educate others. And 30% of Australia started to wake up. That's 30%. That's a huge amount. We need to keep moving that forward, and we need to be concentrating on all areas now. The Victorian state election coming up, it's going to be very interesting. And hopefully One Nation makes a big dent in that, because that's going to send a ripple around Australia. And I think it's up to every person to do their best to get rid of the two organisations, which is Liberal, Labor, well, actually it's three, and the Greens, who have been in charge of this company for the last country for the last.
No, I think you were right with company.
Well, we know he's back. Who've been in charge of this country for the last 100 plus more years, and we've seen that they're taking us 100% down the path. So, as I said once before, do we use the devil we know or the devil we don't? In this case, the devil we don't is One Nation. And we've had no evidence that they are going to fail at running this country. And we're seeing plenty of evidence through their policies that they very may well succeed in running this country and doing it properly. So it's up to us now to support what we can, even if you don't 100% agree with everything they do. Right? I can guarantee you probably agree with 70 to 80% of what they do. And 70 and 80% is far better than 0% support that we're getting from the current government or its opposition. Thank you. And one more thing to that. The opposition only changed their stance because they saw that they were being beaten. They're not there because they want to be. Their stance is purely because they think it's a way of regaining their votes. Well, fuck you. You had a chance to change it way back and you didn't. So you're not an opposition at all. All right, sorry. Done.
No, well ranted. Well ranted. I would agree. There is no opposition.
You gave me that extra time because I disappeared off stream for 45 minutes or whatever.
No, I felt it rude to jump in on you. I did feel the need to correct you about company because it is a company.
Then you realise that was you realise that was a 100% Freudian slip.
Yes, I do.
Right, and I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, yeah.
It's nice that it's in the back of your head, though,
isn't it? All right, stuck in that subconscious, knowing full well that's actually an accurate statement. So,
Darren Bergworth would be very, very happy with you tonight. So, that's a good thing. Speaking of Darren, he spoke in Wollongong last night, I think it was, at my place in Wollongong. Good turnout from all accounts. I've listened to his speech. Bloody good speech, mate. Well spoken. Couldn't agree more with you in most of what you've said, actually. And that's always been the way. Darren and I are hunting for our truths in our own separate ways, but we are certainly very close in our beliefs of many things. Darren may have seen a few more shiny butterflies fly past than I have and chased a couple of them, but somebody has to do it. Let's put it that easy. Now, I have a question for you. We are getting a lot of community service announcements, and I'm wondering whether or not there is more we can do. We've all seen these sorts of cameras on the side of the road. It's now been termed un-Australian to tip these things over and gut them for the copper that's inside them.
True, because we as a taxpayer are only going to end up paying for the replacement anyway. So, but once again, the surveillance side of it, that's un-Australian as well.
Well, I counted the other day, it's been a week or two since I drove down to the Gold Coast, but between where I am and the Gold Coast, I counted 4 cameras, and that was going one way. I came back a different way. I counted 5 cameras the other way. Now, they are desperate to try and screw us over. They are desperate for money, and they will desperately take yours off you for any reason that you give them. So don't give any reasons whatsoever. Tim's doing or just dropped another video or did another, right? Good. Tim's on YouTube or on Rumble? Tim's Truth, one word. Both? Right. There you go. The other thing are the flock cameras, which are something I've spoken about here. They're not flock cameras are not being used in Australia that I've been able to find out, at any rate, not being tested in this country at the moment. That's not to say that they won't be, because we have such Stalinist regimes in certain states. Western Australia and Victoria spring immediately to mind. Western Australia, New South Wales coming a close third, with Queensland level pegging really in third spot. Now, I don't think the flock cameras will come to Australia anytime in the immediate future, but it is something we should be keeping an eye out for. They are receiving, now that awareness is spreading through America at the surveillance that is in place on Americans today, in great part because of flock cameras, they are hitting back. Now, we have seen in the past in the UK, men in black coming in with angle grinders and whatever else to cut down these poles in the middle of the night that have got 4 or 5 or 6 cameras hanging off them, number plate readers, facial recognition scanners, bloody, toll cameras, all sorts of different things. I'm quite surprised that hasn't taken off around the world. I mean, we do know that those sorts of cameras, these things, whether they be a speed camera or that one particularly looks like it's looking for phones in your hand, peering into your car, into your lap, so to speak. I know some strippers who put on a real show for certain people who monitor those cameras. I don't know if they've kept their hands on the wheel while doing it. That could be rather interesting. I was going to say something about the gear stick then, but I think
just don't go there.
All right, so back to the flock cameras. In America, they are pushing back against them, and we're starting to see similar but much more brazen attempts to curb the surveillance being coercively placed on people in a number of different cities and even regional areas, even little country towns. Now, they're not running around and cutting the pole down. They're using that foam stuff that builders use to spray the camera lens, expanding foam. This does two things. Apparently, it sticks like the proverbial shit to a blanket.
Yeah, terrible stuff.
And it destroys the lens. It doesn't necessarily destroy all the electronics inside or anything like that unless it can find a way in. But apparently, if you squirt enough of it in the right place, you can have those cameras burst apart. Now, that's a bad thing. Would never recommend to anybody to go forth and do vandalism on public property in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying that expander foam is strong, powerful, dangerous stuff. You should avoid putting it anywhere near something that, you know, has a camera lens near it, because it will damage it significantly. Even just a few drops on that lens will make a hell of a mess. So that would cost the taxpayers.
Definitely don't want to do that. But
no, that would cost the taxpayers new cameras, and it would take the police probably some weeks to replace the unit. I mean, it would be, yeah. But it would be replaced.
In some fairness, I'm not that upset about having cameras out in the public. Right? I think that in its own right gives some pretty good, reasonable protection for any offence that may occur, physical violence, etc., and so on. Where I have a challenge with it is when they're using it to raise revenue.
Yes.
That's where I have a challenge with it. Right. So
what about if a debt collector buys into it and gets access to the database? What about a mercantile debt collector?
Good question. I don't know how you would look at that. I mean, it's public domain.
You've got somebody who's
footage.
disputing a car, somebody who's disputing a car payment, or they're getting their car repoed.
Yeah.
But they're disputing that they might have hidden the car somewhere or taken the car somewhere. Where do we stand on the repo companies getting access to those cameras?
Well, if they're going to have to get a way of seizing it, which means they need to go through the courts and bits and pieces. So it's public footage. I mean, we know that we can film in public, even us. We've got cameras on our phones. We can use those to actually specify, what we want to record. And anybody who's in public is basically fair game, especially if you work for this current government / corporation. So,
yes.
I always usually ask permission to put people up on YouTube, but for your personal viewing pleasure, you don't have to do that. It's only if you're going to portray that image to a social media do you need to.
So should this database that will go into AI centers, which are also now being pushed back against by Americans left, right, and center, they're starting to realize the cost in both.
Did you hear about Texas?
I've heard a bit about Texas, but which part of Texas? What are you referring to?
Okay, so in Texas, they run the whole, I'm not going to have the exact figures here, but in Texas, their whole electricity use is something like about 43 or 73 gigajoules of power, right? Gigawatts.
In all of Texas.
Gigawatts in Texas, for all of Texas. The new AI functions that the centers they want to put in raise the power requirement for Texas to 437 gigawatts of power.
Holy shit.
So at the moment they do 70 something gigawatts of power to run all of Texas. But with all the new AI stuff, 437 gigawatts. It's like,
all right.
Can
we extrapolate this to 88 gigawatts. Can we extrapolate to Australians' AI centres that are being built in Western Sydney and Western Melbourne? Now, they're going to demand similar amounts of power, which the Labor and Green governments would have you believe are going to come from the big fans they plan on placing out in people's paddocks, or the solar panels that they're going to cover good, productive farming land with. Is this realistic?
No. And speaking of big fans and whatever, just as a matter of interest, My Place Manham is actually proud to present Professor Plumer, who's coming in to talk about our current wonderful climate change bits and pieces. Now, he's a renowned professor of geology, teaches here in South Australian universities and bits and pieces. He's award-winning. He's been on the news about his bits and pieces. But we've got him actually speaking at Manham on Sunday the 13th. Tickets to be supplied. They're free, but we can only fit 100 people in. So,
and we might
he's going to be talking about those fans. Sorry?
Yeah. We'll record that or even stream it live if we can.
Yeah, we can certainly arrange that through the FBN network. That'll be an FBN thing.
Oh, yes, yeah. Go on then. Pull it away from me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I need to apologise to all the audience that watch the FBN. I have been absent severely for the last couple of months, and that's due to certain personal family issues that I've been dealing with that has taken a very large mental toll on me. So just to let you know that that's the reason why. So with a bit of discussion, I'm hopefully going to be back on deck doing stupid things like actually saying my piece on FBN and having nobody watch. But for those who do, the odd 4 or 5, thank you.
We'll get you a few more bodies, mate. That'll be good. Northern Territory says they've got enough water underground to supply data centres to the world. Isn't that called the Great Artesian Basin? Although most of that's under Queensland.
Yeah.
Who's given away the Great Artesian Basin to the fucking world? I mean, we've only just been able to stop mining companies pouring shit into it. So, and that was by the skin of a very slim bee's pizzle, I can tell you.
Solid carbon that would make all the artesian basin carbonic acidic. So, remember that when they were wanting to put the solid carbon down into the water table?
Yes, yeah. And they were going to
carbon and water makes carbonic acid. So
carbonic acid, yeah. Not smart, our governments. These are the people that we put in charge. Like the fella in charge of the environment has no interest in the environment, much less knowledge of it. And if it's a Labor Party person that has no knowledge of it, they've never worked in any area. They've got no knowledge of anything other than how to suck on the public tit. That's all. And I've got to say, most of the Liberal Party are the same these days.
No, that's what I was saying, 100%. They had their chance way, way back. Anybody who argues, the Liberal Party's heading in the right path now, no, they're just stealing from the majority view of people that they should have been listening to for the last 30 fucking years.
Yep.
Right? But now they've suddenly, oh, shit, we're in danger of losing all our jobs. Let's change our opinion. Yeah, that's because you're not doing it out of the right thought process. You're doing it to save your asses. Right?
100%. I commend you folks. Go and check out cairnsnews.org. If you don't already do so, then please go along and check out their site and get a load of some of the stories that they are breaking there. I've got to tell you, I was speaking to the guys there yesterday, one of the guys there yesterday. They are putting out some pretty big stuff, and today's latest story is one that will make most Australians, well, I would hope it would make most Australians angry, but I think most Australians are so apathetic they'll just shrug their shoulders. Labor unions will control election results for years to come with no voter ID required. We've only just been able to get it into America, but Australia, no. So go and check it out at cairnsnews.org. The team there are putting in a bloody huge effort, and they are breaking stories left and right, and they have some very, very good close contacts. Speaking of close contacts, one of ours is disappearing, Roscoe, what am I saying? Vincent.
Hang on, did he just call me Vincent?
I did, Vincenzo. I beg your pardon. Don't yell at
You
me.
know, the only person that was allowed to call me Vincent was my mother, and it always came with a Vincent Michael panel. So yeah,
not good.
Gotta love
I was going to say Don McLean could have made it better for you. He did a song about it, didn't he?
True, he did. Yes, he did indeed. That was a great song too, I have to add.
Then I think Alice Cooper might have had a go at something similar at one stage. So
I can't remember Alice Cooper one.
I might be stretching the memory there.
Alice Cooper, I was stoned as, so it didn't matter. Did I say that on channel? Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to his nightmare. All right. Speaking of nightmares, we know that the roads have been nothing if not nightmarish, given the people that have been allowed to go driving on it. It has been discovered that it's pretty simple to be an illegal immigrant in this country and disappear. Now, you would think you would do that in the hustle and bustle of a big city, but oh no. The easiest way to do that is to go to the bush, put on a high-vis vest and get into the cab of a B-double. And that's exactly what this old mate did. 12 years after he arrived in Australia. Now,
really?
He went out, he was in South Australia in the Northern Territory, and somebody put him in a truck and sent him to Melbourne, and he got pulled over on the Hume Highway going to Sydney in this truck. The man has never held a license in Australia. He is here illegally, working unlawfully, and he has been doing huge hours, and a logbook for him was something that I'm not completely sure that he could spell. At any rate, he was picked up because Border Force and National Heavy Vehicles have been doing a interception operation since April. They've intercepted 200 big rigs. They've issued 5 transport companies with immediate compliance notices. I don't know what that means, but I would say it means you are not allowed on the road until you comply with whatever they tell you to comply with. Some of those things will be to stop getting your drivers to violate the work hours, get them to fill in the logbook. And student visas were the biggest problem, student and work visa violations. Students come here supposedly to study, but they turn up at the university, they waive all the appropriate papers, get them stamped appropriately, and then through, in some cases, government support, go to the local truck licensing team, which in my case in this area is owned by some Indians, and pay their, which I think we pay. Certainly we pay a portion of it. We may not pay all of it, but I think we pay a portion of it. The fee to get their multi-combination or their heavy combination license. Now, the way that licensing works for truck drivers is, or for licensing, is you have a car, then you have a light rigid license, which is for vehicles 13 seats or 13 up to, I think it's 22 seats or might be 23 seats. That's a light rigid. Then you have a heavy rigid license, which is the one that I own. It allows me to drive anything that isn't articulated up to whatever tonnage. So the old girl, the bus is up to 10 ton, no problem driving that. Then you get a heavy combination license, which allows you to drive an 18-wheeler, a normal semi-trailer. Then you need a multi-combination license, which will allow you to drive a B-double. And then there is a step up again, call it a super license if you want to go and drive the big road trains, the big quad trailers. That's a lot of learning involved there. Now, anybody who knows anything about different cultures in the world and what they think about trucks will know that, and it's no fault of them. I mean, I've watched so many Indian drivers with great skill, unbelievable skill, negotiate mountain passes in 10-ton trucks. They're not driving semi-trailers because semi-trailers will not get around those roads. In fact, I haven't seen too many semi-trailers in any of those sorts of videos. They must have them, they just don't send them up the mountains, and there's a reason for that. We, unfortunately, are getting a lot of the heavy rigid drivers who are immediately stepping up and getting a heavy combination license, which is allowing them to get into an 18-wheeler or a normal semi-trailer, and they will do, depending, I think it is on how much time they've actually got behind the wheel. I think there is a certain time frame before they can then step up to a multi-combination, but it's not long. We're talking like a week. You can step up and do the multi-combination if you can pay for it. Now, these fees to do these licenses, and I haven't gone and checked them myself recently, but I was talking, interestingly, to a fella yesterday who suggested that if I want to come up and get my multi-combination, my heavy combination license, which is the next step up from me, that he runs a driving school. I can probably pick that ticket up for about $1,000. And if I want work, they can stick me in a truck on a property cutting cane from now until November at $64 an hour. I think I'm going to far north Queensland.
So, question on that. You're only going to be driving on the property?
Yeah.
Why do you need a license?
No, depending on what the job is. So off the property, you would take the cane bins to wherever the cane bins are being stored on a side track for a train to come and get them, I suspect. And that might mean that you're traveling on a road. Conversely, you might have to take all the cane to a mill. So that would mean traveling on a road. And, if you've got to take it to another farm. Yeah, if you're creating billets or something for storage and you've got to take it to another part of a farm somewhere. So no, you've got to, if you're going to be on the road, yeah. Yeah, so if I was just going to go and sit on the farm, no problems. I could probably drive around all day, but they're not using trucks for that. They're using tractors with catch bins to catch the billets as the cane is cut, and then trucks to haul those bins to wherever they're going. So but that's an idea of the kind of money you can make. And if anybody is interested, I know a certain bloke in far north Queensland who might be interested in helping you get your ticket in that regard. So somewhere between $500 and $1,000. Don't quote me on it, but I figure that's a pretty good price to get an upgrade to a multi-combination and make $64 an hour. We'd be able to get a few things fixed in the bus then, my friend.
Yeah.
Not that there's too much to fix in the bus. Farmer, yeah, I've got the flatto for it. What? You're right, mate. Right. Absolutely.
Probably find that you're that you'd be too busy driving trucks to actually do your show, so that you'd end up being off the air. So
you'd find I'd be doing the show from the truck or the track. There's a lot of waiting involved.
Yeah, I suppose, but
yeah.
Well.
All right, you're convincing me I shouldn't be going to do this. Right, okay, good.
Yeah, then on the same aspect, I'm also the one that's calling for the government to do things like help pay for tradies 4 years of apprenticeships. So in the first year that the poor old employees get subsidised well and move forward, because that's the only way we're going to get our kids back into some sort of idea of what it is like to work for a friggin' living. So at the moment we've spoilt them rotten. I'd say it's our own fault. We've protected them too much.
Yep. I think there's an element of that, but society has also come out now where influencer or OnlyFans star are genuine career paths. What?
Yeah.
I mean,
an influencer is one, but let's say you're an influencer. You've been an influencer for 5 years. How much money are you making, Carl?
Nothing. Yeah. But there are influencers who are making a lot. Now, the question is why? Is it because I don't put together anything worth watching? And there's probably an argument for that. I don't have a budget behind me like others do. I'm not making excuses for it in any way, shape or form. There was a fella I watched on Facebook yesterday who's complaining that he cannot be heard and that everybody now is thinking, that Karl Stefanovic is wonderful because he's come over to our side and yada, yada. And they were even talking about Sam from Two Worlds Collide. you know, both who are now essentially mainstream media. And all of a sudden, like that, they've got our group, the Freedom Group. Now, I keep asking questions. Of Carl. I've never asked Sam any questions. I'd love to sit down and talk to Sam, probably not on the air, but off the air. I'd find him an immensely interesting bloke. We might have an interesting chat one day if I ever get to Adelaide and meet him. But Carl is working very, very hard to drag the mainstream audience over to him. I think he is trying to, in a lot of cases, he's trying to give them mainstream stories that are a little more meaty and weighted to our side, if you like. But I don't think he's doing this seriously. He is not asking the big questions about constitutions. And if he is, he's not asking it of people who've been doing this, like you say, for 5 years. Now, that's not saying I want to be on Carl Stefanovic's show. I could care less and have no interest.
Invitation request.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm happy to have him on mine, but it's not a matter of getting on other people's shows. If we are going to get together and have a conversation with a man who is as powerful now in our medium as he is, then I believe we have to have serious conversations about things mainstream media have overlooked. Now, he's done the mea culpa on COVID. So, you know, you got to let him have that, whether you agree with it, whether you support him with it, whether you still think he should be hung for it. You know, I'm a bit twisted on the whole thing.
To change, right?
Well, everybody woke up at a different time, didn't they?
That's right. And in all fairness, there are evidence out there where they were doing something on the show that was relative to COVID, and you could see him literally turn away.
Yep.
Like he knew, but he still had to do what he was being paid to do. Right. But
contract being a contract, $1 million a year, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's what's allowed him to move forward now and change sides. So
yes, but does he have, I mean, he's acquired a large audience, but he hasn't acquired a great deal of knowledge of the audience.
Not yet. That'll come with time.
He's so far got the easy subjects, if you like. And there's been a bit of current news around with Pauline that he could sink his teeth into. But I want to have a talk to him about the Governor General. I want to have a talk to him about the election.
That whole process.
But I mean, there's so many,
there's so much that you've put out over the 5 years you've been there, and at our 11.7 or something that we're at, theoretically, most other people would have been way past that at this stage. But we know there was a significant amount of restriction due to the fact of what topics you were covering back then.
And still is. And still is.
I think to some degree, yes.
Yep. We are being suppressed constantly. Go and have a look at my Facebook page. There's stuff being taken down on a regular basis. And it's all truth that I'm posting. I'm not posting lies up to you, although there is evidence that some lies could in fact be shared with you. I've got one lie in particular that I think you'll enjoy, Vince. And I have another one that looks very spectacular and will get people quite emotional, but they are nonetheless lies. And we have to become better at discerning what is truth and what isn't. And mainstream media, given the example we use, just one tonight, but I guarantee you if I was to go through mainstream media news bulletins, and I won't be, I would be able to drag out more examples of where the media are explicitly telling you lies. Now, I don't know who you have to complain to in the print media world about the absolute lies, misdirection, misinformation that the Australian used when putting out their, thank you, Paul, when putting out their picture of an old protest and acquainting it to Pauline Hanson, or the protest against Pauline Hanson in Sydney. That is disgusting. That needs to be brought before a panel of jurists. That newspaper, The Australian, needs to have its ability to print, full stop, to publish, full stop, looked at.
Yeah.
Because they are publishing lies.
The picture says 1,000 words, so it's the wrong picture.
They're the ABC of print, for God's sake.
There is no way, unless people like us call that sort of shit out. It just, you know, and they do the same all the time with their snapshots and their bits and pieces. And, you know, someone was asking about Barnaby Joyce, whether or not he would restrict ABC from coming to a function where Pauline was at. And he sort of said, I'll speak to anybody. But Pauline has the exact right to tell the ABC to go and stick it fair up their coit. I mean, the very government that, the very department that did that satirical thing on Gina Reinhardt, that was disgusting in the max. And for you can't say that they did not go against their constitution, because they did. That was definitely not unbiased. And the apology was pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. Right? It gets back to who is controlling what. The ombudsman did nothing.
No.
Are you an ombudsman or not? Right?
All controlled. Yep.
So
unbelievable. All right, getting back to what you should be able to discern for yourself. Thank you, Silver Fox. I hope the leg is improving, my friend. When you see videos like this one, I hope you can tell the difference between what's real and what's not.
Oh, my God. Get cover! They're everywhere! Get down! Close! Close!
Okay, how do I know that that was fake, Vince?
I don't know. I couldn't actually tell. Getting good.
Everything got blown off. Everything got blown off its feet except for the person holding the camera.
Oh yeah, valid point. The such obvious thing.
Everything got destroyed except the person holding the camera.
And there was no
here's one
dust
that
directly hitting the camera either. When you think about
that's
it,
right. That's
all
right.
that dust supposedly, but nothing got there.
No blast concussion. You know, where you can see the blast concussion coming across the dirt. But that concussion is enough to blow windows in, but it's not enough to move the camera or the cameraman. So anyway, that's one way you can discern bullshit. This one is a little bit harder, but Vince, I thought of you when I found it.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Yay.
Love it. Love
Beam
it.
me up, Scotty.
Yep, love it.
Now, that transporter, molecular restructural device, or restructuring device.
The light globe above the top of it,
2014, that video is supposedly from. So,
nice little edit. It was done very well, but it's just a splice.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we've had that ability since way back in the 65s. I think they first brought the transporter in with Star Trek 1, the original. Right?
Yes.
So that was already available on film. So nothing new there.
No, it was something we've always wanted, though. That and the replicator.
Yep. Yep.
Some people probably wanted a phaser.
Yeah, that's not the replicators from SG Stargate. That's the replicators for making food, which would be a wonderful thing to have in society. Except for they are starting to do that. It's called printed meat.
Oh God, yes! Don't start me on that. Oh God! And there's a factory in Melbourne that's pumping it out. I think it's in Brunswick.
Really?
Pumping it out. So absolutely ridiculous. I found a hat. I found a new hat that we need to consider maybe.
Oh yeah.
It's not an original. Somebody already has it.
Make Albo go away. Make Albo go away. I love that. Yep. That's a good idea. Right.
I think that's a bloody great idea.
Maybe we should put it in orange.
Yeah. And finally, just in the lead up to the Victorian election, the Victorian state government has released a new line of number plates for the state, and everybody's thrilled, of course. At least it actually is in line with the thinking. It used to be Victoria the smart state, but then Labor got in, and that was
it's not just Victoria anymore, right? My car's currently down at the mechanics getting its left rear and front tyres checked after collecting a pothole on the way back from Adelaide the other day.
Wow.
After I hit the pothole, it was like this in the steering wheel.
Oh wow!
So
I've been told a friend of mine hit one, and their steering wheel is now cockeyed.
Yeah,
they're driving straight, but
ridiculous.
The wheels.
So all this tax money that we're paying out, we shouldn't be. And in fact, we should be probably far better off actually doing something like this. Sending the money
Good segue.
to merch. Right. So these are the 4 new merch items that I put up the other day. And I've also rigged the site now that when you go there, anything new will be the first thing on the list. So we've got some beautiful stickers that we've got the original. Let's go in and have a look at that one. Come on. It's just taking a while to load.
It's having a very big sleep, isn't it?
Is it actually loading on that screen? It's not loading on that screen. Oh, yes, it is. There it is. So you've got various sizes that you can choose from. So
can you center it up?
There's a small one, or the large one. And this is using the new Voice of Freedom logo that we have out there, not the wonderful thing at the back. But, of course, if you did want the wonderful thing at the back, we've also got that available, as you can see here, right there. Right. And with the big one of those, obviously, you have to peel it off and separate into 2. Some people were asking about the cup. So what we did is I did something different with this cup. Effectively, I've put it on both sides of the cup, right? And it's the coloured mug. So it's a unique. It's not part of the word cups that we're doing. Like
the Kakistocracy series?
Yeah, so this is not part of that series. This is just that cup for those people that were wanting it. And interestingly enough, you can get to choose your colour, what you want the colour to be inside. Damn, my internet's really slow today. But you can choose the 11 ounce, right, which is $23, or you can do the 15 ounce, which is $20. I got no idea how that works. So you get a bigger cup with more coffee for a cheaper price. I know which one I'd be going for.
Me too. Get onto that before they fix it, folks. Get onto it fast.
And of course, most importantly, you asked for the T-shirt, and there it is. And notice that we actually lightened up the colours like you suggested, Carl.
Yeah,
and you can see it came up magnificently. And these are the various colours that we ended up choosing, because obviously some of them didn't go well. But you've got the ability, and on the Corso, on the front, the Voice of Freedom logo. So if you want to get out there and support us, and as Topher Fuels likes to say, keep us bringing you stories and stuff like this all the time, you need to get out there and give us a hand, because we have some rather major expenses coming up that have to be dealt with down the track, and I don't quite know how we're going to deal with that at this stage. FBN, of course, is making no money at all, and any money that has been made or gone into the FBN accounts has been put in as personal contributions from Carl. So that's helping cover the current corporation or the business side of it at this stage, which is why we also need to promote the FBN channel so that we can swish it back and pay back all the money to Carl that he's been putting in. So,
well, I'll be honest. It's all of us keeping it going because I couldn't do it without the help that I get. So,
well, that's true. I mean, I cover all the costs of all the hosting and all the websites and all that sort of stuff out of my own personal pocket. So
yeah,
that's how we managed to keep that going, and that's including FBNs as well. So they're my contributions in that format as well. So
yeah,
but effectively, it's there. I do want to say one other thing. I want to say congratulations to Avi and to Monica Smith on the success they had in Victoria.
Yep.
Removing the
100%.
group polling tickets. Fantastic job, guys. Well done.
Really good effort.
Really good, excellent effort. So now they may have a chance to have a fair election where the people in Victoria, if you are not too dumb, and there's a few of those obviously hanging around from yesterday's protest, you get to vote. You get to choose who your preferences go to now. Make that
100%.
choice work for you.
100%. Yep. And I think, aren't we expecting One Nation candidates to be released?
Oh, there's a lot
today?
already been released.
Have they?
There's a lot already been released. They've been releasing them over time. I saw some more the other day that were released, etc. They have.
Do we know whether or not? Do we know whether Trevor Andre got into Ripon?
Not yet.
As a One
But
Nation representative?
they've guaranteed that they will have every seat covered.
Oh yeah. But I thought they only
There's
announced 8 so far in the lower house.
No, I think
they
there's
hadn't done
more
the
than
upper
that. I
house.
think they did some more. I think.
Okay.
The ABC was crying. What's this about? Tony? The ABC was crying to the Vic about it.
To Victoria about it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll have to go and try and find out because I haven't seen, and I would have thought it would be front page news everywhere if One Nation had released the rest of their people.
No,
North Korea threatens the US. That's
not
big
going to
news
do
for
that.
the weekend.
Carl. They're not going to do that. Why would they try and bring that in? They don't want people to know that One Nation are putting up an wonderful resistance. And just hello to Grape Ape, by the way, from one of our Rumble viewers. Yes, and I do agree with that. I really need to go back and watch Stargate again. Anyway, they're not going to go out there and push too hard that One Nation's got all of these candidates, because the last thing they want people to do is go find those candidates and start listening to those candidates and start getting the real truth or the real information on what's going. Start finding out that the people that are now running for positions are not just political gurus and lawyers. These are people who are actually running businesses, who actually have common sense. One of the few things that is missing, well, absolutely 100% almost missing from the current government, is common sense. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to push it too hard. The quieter they can make it, the better. It's up to us as social media people to use what we can to get out there and let people know. So, yes, we will have to chase it down. Oh, boy, I'm coming back with a vengeance tonight, aren't I?
Yeah. So, by the looks of it, One Nation haven't released Victorian candidates yet.
Okay.
No. So that, doesn't surprise me. It sort of doesn't surprise me, but sort of does, because the longer you leave those One Nation candidates out to get shot down and let the mainstream media look at them, the longer you give them to get shot down or to have stuff found out about them or whatever. Personally, I think that's probably a good thing in that you can replace those sorts of people if the media find a story that you weren't able to. But it'll be a very nervous time for One Nation because they've done all their background security checks, and they've done this before, remember, and they've let people into their organisation who haven't wound up being the kinds of people that One Nation want in there. So there'll be an element of nervousness because if they get even one of those in the Victorian candidate field, God help them if they get 2. But if they get even 1, it will do huge amounts of damage to their main primary vote. They need to make sure they've got the right people.
Now, I've got a quick question for you.
Keeping them out of the media for as long as possible would be preferable, I would have thought.
I've got a quick question for you. I believe there was some story that went into the main papers about One Nation and gay representatives. Did you hear anything about that?
No, I heard that Barnaby Joyce has gay animals on his farm.
Yeah, well, that was part related to that story. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think there are gay. Well,
I guarantee there is. Right, one of the South Australian representatives down here is gay. Right, he's in Parliament. Nice fella.
James Ashby is gay.
Oh, James is he really? You sure on that?
Pretty confident,
good on him.
Yes.
Doesn't mean because that's your preference. Doesn't mean you're not a smart person.
And he is touted as about the smartest political brain in the country at the moment. Yeah. Has there been a Please Explain put out today, by the way? Tony, you're usually pretty good at sending them to me. I guess there's been a bit on this week, and the guy who voices them all is actually a One Nation candidate now. So he might be out on the hustings rather than behind a microphone.
Can you imagine the entertainment that he would give at some of his rallies?
I'm not sure he will be allowed to voice the characters now that he is declared as a political candidate. I'm not sure that he will be. I can't think of a specific reason why he shouldn't, but there is something in me telling me that he will be probably stopped from doing that.
Okay.
Silver Fox.
Tony says that they will announce it at Manu on the 29th of Victoria.
On the 29th. Bloody
which
great.
I will see you there because I have bought my ticket.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. We'll be live streaming that. We'll be using the wonderful satellite uplink from the team at Billboard Battalion. Nick will certainly be going along to that, and fingers crossed that Wade will as well. Wade is out of hospital, for those who aren't aware. I feel terrible. I haven't given him a call. I need to. Wade is out of hospital, but mobility is still a bit of a thing for him, and he gets tired out, obviously. It's going to be a pretty big drive and a pretty big day at Manu and a pretty big night at Manu with Pauline Hanson in town at the Cricket Club on the 29th. I don't know how many tickets are left, but I don't. Well, it is a football ground, and it is a large one at Manu from memory, or a cricket club as well. So I guess you could probably put thousands of people there, and you don't have to have them all in the dressing room at the same time for a cup of tea and a chinwag. So yeah.
So that's all coming.
I wasn't to mention that, Carl. I wasn't to mention what. Well, don't mention it again. I didn't do it. Sorry, Tony. But yeah, sure Manu, I don't know. Don't know what I was meant to mention. I didn't mention it.
Yeah, no, nothing was said. Absolutely nothing. Didn't hear a thing.
I don't think there's too many secrets that the Manu Cricket Club is a cricket ground or a football ground. Pretty large. A lot of people could come. And One Nation themselves announced when they brought out the 8 people that they stumped up originally that they would be announcing the rest of the team this week. By the end of this week was their announcement. So that's where my query came from. But if they're holding off till the end of August, I don't think that's a silly idea at all. Why give the media 3 extra weeks or 2 extra weeks to tear apart? And these people, these good Victorians who are standing up and fighting for every Victorian, whether or not those Victorians believe they can make a difference or not, these good people who will go in there and work, I'm sure, very, very hard to make great changes to Victorian law so that the oppression that you've felt for the last 10 years or so is lifted in some way. The rest of the team is going to be placed under media scrutiny that I don't think anybody in Victorian politics has ever seen before. Yep. These people, mums, dads, farmers, business people who never in their lives ever expected to be a politician or to be running for politics have all of a sudden been thrust forward because they have had a gutful, and their friends, I dare say their families, have all had a gutful, and they are the person who stood up in their group, in their town, in their area, and said, well, I want to fix it. Now, the media are going to attack these people mercilessly.
Not to mention that the One Nation team over there in Victoria will be grabbing these candidates that they probably already know and spending time coaching them on how to deal with the media, because the media are vicious.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to spend the time. I know when I was discussing or talking with the guys over here in South Australia, I got some of them on. I got some of others were advised not to go on, because obviously they were pretty would have been okay with me, because I'm not going to shoot at them hard. But the point was they didn't have the media experience, so they declined for that respect. So, so I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting battle. I think a lot of us from New South Wales and South Australia need to go over and give these Vickies a hand at learning how to do things the correct way.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that One Nation gains enough support to make a significant difference in Victoria, because what they do in Victoria will in great part impact what happens nationally for them. But there are a couple of other elections between Victoria and the federal election. There is a state-based election in Western Australia for a seat that's happening or was vacated over there. So there's a by-election happening there very shortly. And then in New South Wales, their state election is early next year. So they have an opportunity there too, before the federal election, to make a significant impact. And a lot will ride on what happens should One Nation gain power, or at least gain the ability to make changes in Victoria significantly. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be wouldn't it be amazing? Well, imagine this, right? Love hypotheticals, right? Which is what they're talking about, a hypothetical about something to do with the tax and housing and all that sort of stuff, using their model, which is a hypothetical, but wouldn't accept another hypothetical, but that's a whole different discussion. But hypothetically, if they won Victoria, what would that do to the rest of Australia?
Yep. What would you see the Liberal National Party do then?
How much of a wave would that be? How much, how panicky do you think the Libs and Labors and the Greens would get?
Yeah.
Maybe we could...
Well, certainly, they can't honestly expect to elect a Liberal or a Labor government and expect change.
No.
We haven't seen any of that in the history of ever.
Yeah.
So you said it perfectly before. Bring in the new blood. They'll make it work. They'll find their way. We might have rough moments, but if they don't, there'll be others who come in. There'll be others behind them. It will be a huge, huge change. So,
we're breaking the political back. That's what's happening right now.
Yeehaw!
With that, guys, we've had a long show, partly because I booted myself out and had to come back in. Also makes up for last night, because I'm like with the same with Carl. I think he was probably wise that he didn't go off last night. He might have got a whole channel banned. But I'm going to do my usual.
And I will nanu you. It's a great thing.
And I will actually wave goodbye as well, just to keep the old joke going.
See you, brother. I'd love to cut him off in the end. It makes it all much better. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, folks. If you are heading to the Pacific Air Show on the Gold Coast, good luck in the traffic jam. They're expecting 270,000 people along that little bit of coastline, and parts of Surfers Paradise you've got to pay to get into, particularly down along the beach. if you want to go and see. So if you are heading down, plenty of other vantage points I believe that you don't have to pay for. I won't be going to check it out. I just can't be bothered spending that sort of time in the traffic. But if that's you, then you do you, I'll do me, and together we'll do each other. Have yourself a fabulous weekend. Be safe on the roads while you're doing what you do, and keep right away from those dickheads. Speak soon.
You
Bye.
let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!